I, again, in 2022, didn't know about Minoan. We were a fairly new company back then. I started with them in 2024. But had I had Minoan when I was setting up my midterm rental, I would have saved a lot of money, but I also would have saved a lot of time. When I first started, I showed my colleagues the scratch checklist for my furniture that I was using, which was really, not polished and not professional whatsoever. So we kind of help every host, no matter where you are at in your investing journey, whether you have one property, you have 20 properties, really feel like they're running a business as opposed to a side gig.
Welcome to the Landlord Diaries, where we talk about midterm rentals and the opportunities behind them. We'll share landlord stories, talk about maximizing investment potential, and discuss how to live the very best landlord life. This podcast is proudly brought to you by Furnished Finder, the leader and largest online marketplace for midterm rentals. Remember to like and subscribe if you enjoy our content.
Today's episode is going to be great with Jennifer Zureikat, our newest Furnish Finder partnership with Minoan. Jennifer is the marketing director at Minoan, and I'm going to let her kick us off by telling us about this fantastic partnership between Furnish Finder and Minoan.
Yeah, thank you, Kelly. I'm super excited to be here. Just a little bit about the partnership. To me, it makes perfect sense. I've been a Furnish Finder host and a Furnish Finder tenant for the last 18 months or so. And so when we realized that there was a great alignment here between Minoan and Furnish Finder, especially as you consider the market right now, I think a lot of the people that use Minoan for furnishing a short-term rental are now trying to think about how do we transition to something a little bit more reliable, something a little more stable. And we provide, the furniture, the amenities, not just for the short term, but also for the midterm. So, we're doing a lot of fun stuff together, a lot of cool co-marketing things like webinars and this wonderful podcast. So thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's one of the biggest questions we get is like how do I furnish this property? So we're going to spend a lot of time today talking about that and getting into the nitty-gritty because Minoan is fantastic at that. And they have all the expert views. But one of the reasons that Jen is here with us is because she's been down this road. Like you said, you have been a Furnished Finder host and a tenant. And correct me if I'm wrong, but you have had a short-term rental before that you now use as a midterm rental sometimes. So I would love to hear just an overview of your story and experience and how you decided to transition at least part of the time into this monthly furnished rental.
Sure, absolutely. So I've been in real estate for over a decade. I've been in the prop tech industry. My husband's a broker, and it kind of we saw everybody else our age investing in property, and we, really wanted to participate in that. So we, in 2020, started purchasing properties for the intent of long-term rentals. And, that went really well, but I saw all these people on TikTok and Instagram doing short-term rentals and making all this money, and it looks so much fun. So in 2022, we bought our first short-term rental in an area that allowed it, which is Bradenton, Florida. It's about 15 minutes uh, outside of Anna Maria Island, which is a huge vacation destination. I set it up in 2022. The supply chain was just the worst, and furnishing was tough. I didn't know about Minoan at that time, which is, I'm kicking myself for now. But as I got into it, I realized that short-term rentals are a lot of work. It's not, coming from having these long-term rentals where I'm used to kind of maybe once a month having a tenant call me because a dishwasher needs a repair or the toilet is clogged, little tiny things. This was like every week I was hearing a complaint or a piece of feedback. And I will also say, like, vacationers want everything to be perfect. And I just didn't have the time to devote to that. So I had talked to my husband and we were like, well, it's already furnished, like we already have it set up. Why don't we try to find people who are in between houses, maybe people who, their house is under construction, but they need a place to stay in the interim. A lot of traveling nurses down here as well. And so, so we put it on Furnish Finder and we've gotten a ton of interest. I mean, we've gotten even people who had previously stayed for like a week refer other midterm tenants who are local to the property. So it's really, I mean, I actually do think the property is just better suited as a midterm rental due to the location and some of the strategic things that we did with it. Like we made sure to have a home office in there. We usually have two home offices. They're not designated, but a nice desk area for remote workers to really, be able to get their stuff done. We also put like a Peloton bike in there. And I know a lot of people are like, oh, with a midterm rental, it's not about amenities, but you do want it to feel like home. And with no gyms nearby, like that was something we considered. If you're staying for 30 days and you might want to go to the gym, we're going to provide you at least some equipment. So it ended up actually everything that we did to make it a short term ended up being better as a midterm. And now just a huge weight lifted off my shoulders, not having to deal with the turnover.
Yeah, I think that's fantastic. I mean, both of those people have short-term rental tenants or guests and midterm rental tenants have much different needs, and you've been able to take one property and really make it work for both use cases, which I think is fantastic and so smart and something that so many of our landlords can learn from. So you're like the perfect person to help us talk about this. Give us a quick introduction to Minoan, what you guys do, and how you really are the experts about furnishing, and why landlords should consider using Minoan when you're furnishing a property, or whether you're refreshing a property or replacing a furnishing. Anything like, what makes you guys so special?
Minoan's special because, I mean, you think about how many people set up their property and they have to budget this insane amount of money for the furniture. And Minoan basically helps you do that at a fraction of the cost. So investors, they care about the dollars and cents. A lot of them will go very, very, very cheap with the furniture so that they're often having to replace things. Minoan is great because you can get the quality things at the prices that make sense to the investor. So it's not breaking the budget, but you're still going to have quality, lasting pieces. In addition to that, we have great partnerships with replenishable companies. So anything from like linens to soaps to shampoos, the things that you need, even for a midterm rental, you should have that stuff available for the first, I would say, at least week or so. We offer all of that. And then on top of all that, again, just in the investor's mindset, which is how my brain works, we offer the opportunity to monetize all of those things, which is kind of the core of our business. So, you can set up what we call a showroom, and it's basically a digital storefront for your rental. And your guests or your tenants can scan these QR codes and shop the things they love about their stay. And then you earn an affiliate commission on everything that they buy from you. I think for midterm rentals, it actually even makes more sense because if you're staying in a place for 30, 45, 60 plus days and you start to fall in love with that coffee maker, you fall in love with that mattress, there's a good chance that you're going to want to take it home. So, while we don't encourage people to steal from the property, we do encourage them to shop the showroom and be able to take a piece of their stay home with them.
I love the way that you said that, because how many times is someone starting their midterm rental journey with monthly furnished rentals, and they think, okay, great, I'm ready, but how do I furnish this space? And not only is there going to be a showroom, but I think y'all, a teaser, I think you even have a Furnish Finder checklist of what a midterm rental operator should shop for. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, I so the key thing is a quality, especially for midterm rentals. So the things that we might recommend for short-term rentals, there are things that you could get away with maybe going a little bit less expensive on. There are I would say as a midterm host myself, like I really want to invest in quality towels. So we provide the recommendations that allow those things to last. You think about how many times people are washing them, and the linens, they're being slept on every night as opposed to maybe like 4 nights a week. So that is where our discounts are really, really great too, because again, you can get the higher quality stuff at the cheaper prices if you were just shopping on your own. And then there's a bunch of things that maybe short-term hosts wouldn't consider as much. Like they might be focused more on beach chairs and blow up toys and fun things for the backyard. Whereas a midterm host is probably focused more on desks and monitors, things that'll really cater to people who are going to be staying for a while, likely working from your property. So we do have this awesome checklist where you can kind of run through like the essentials that you would need as a midterm host. Like you don't want to leave your guests without a monitor if they're staying for 30 plus days, in my opinion.
Today's episode is proudly sponsored by Furnished Finder, the ultimate platform for hassle-free midterm rentals. Whether you're a seasoned landlord or just getting started, Furnished Finder has everything you need to find your next tenant. With Furnished Finder, you can say goodbye to booking fees, markups, and commissions, and hello to direct bookings. If you're ready to experience all the benefits renting your property for 30 days or more, head over to furnishedfinder.com where you can list your property for one low annual price. We make it easy to get started.
Yeah, those types of amenities are really going to make you stand out. And this leads right into the differences between furnishing a short-term rental and a midterm rental. I think swapping a monitor in place where those beach chairs might have been before, or the stack of puzzles, or all of the decorations, like it's a great exchange. Our largest tenant type is business travelers and digital nomads. That's about 37% of our tenant demand. So it's a big deal, right? So when you think about that, if they're searching and they see that you have a monitor and a desk, and maybe even it's a standing desk, something like that, it shows that you've been thoughtful and you're putting, their reasons for stay and their needs at the top of your furnishing list. So I also love this idea of a list because I know furnishing can be very overwhelming if you've never done it before, if you're having your first property or you're transitioning an unfurnished property. But even if you have a short-term rental property, right? Like just kind of adding those few things that makes it really midterm friendly. You don't want to just go on and find any type of furnishing list. You want to make sure you find one that has monthly rentals in mind.
Yeah, 100%. And what I like most about the list that we created too is that we're actually providing like a link to the product that we suggest you use. It's not just like
Yeah,
sheets. We have a lot of sheets
right.
that we offer. We do. I think what people are really looking for is just tell me what to buy. I know you offer a great discount. My budget is, $40 for the sheet set. And you can see through Minoan what was an $80 sheet set might actually be $40. So again, you're getting a
Yeah.
great value there, which is awesome. And it really is like plug and play. It's I think that midterm hosts like myself don't want to deal with hassle. That's why they do midterm as opposed to short term. So just tell me what to invest in, what's important to buy within, a reasonable budget.
Yeah, Minoan feels like the cheat code, right? To furnishing. And I think it's also the cheat code to, hey, I know I need to invest in towels. I know I should invest in the cutlery maybe. Like the knives are going to be used all the time. Maybe, it's not a short-term rental where people are probably getting takeout or DoorDash the majority of the nights, or they're going to be cooking. And the sheets, like you said, they're going to be slept on 90 days in a row versus in and out and in and out. These high touch items, it's a way where you can get those higher end products, and you can get that cheat code to the discount, so you can still get the quality while maintaining that value that you need.
100%. I when I had a short-term rental, I would have never invested in caraway pots and pans. But through Minoan, we offer such good savings and it makes sense because they're going to last. They're not going to get all scratched up and gross. And, so I had them for these other ones for my short term that I got off of Amazon. They barely lasted. And I hope that no one cooked with them because they were very junky. And then when we transitioned to midterm, that was the type of thing, especially the kitchenware, that I really wanted to upgrade because people aren't going out to eat every single night at a midterm rental. They're probably cooking.
Yeah. So let's talk about, what are some of those small upgrades that can make a really big impression on a midterm rental guest? Like, how do we make a place feel homey? How do we make sure it's comfortable, it's clean? Like, how do we make sure that we have all of those things that really make us stand out?
I focus on like I stay at my rental sometimes. And so I'm thinking of it both as like a vacationer, but also like I bring my computer with me. I bring all of the baby gear. I need it to feel like home. Otherwise, I'm going to be extremely uncomfortable. So we make sure to have things for families like baby gear, which is important whether you're doing short term or midterm. And then we also, again, invest in that office setup. We have a keyboard, a monitor, a mouse, just a whole sort of office setup in two different rooms, just in case, there's two people who need that kind of amenity. But then like just down to like the actual fabrics and plushness of things and the comfort, like I go to an Airbnb, sometimes the sofa is super hard. It's not somewhere that I wanna, like, hang out, but it's okay because I'll be at the beach all day and then, but when I'm on thinking about my Furnish Finder tenants, it's important to have a really comfortable sofa. It's important to have warm blankets. That's not something you might always have at a short-term rental because, they'll get dirty and dingy, but, like, you think about how you live in your own house. Every night you close your laptop, you eat dinner, and then you want to snuggle up on the sofa and watch a movie. So that's really important too. So just like the little touches, again, the linens, the towels are huge. No scratchy towels. People are not going to want to bathe with those every night. And then things that last. So that's anything from your sheets to even your shower curtain, just making sure everything's really clean and guest ready.
Yeah, I think this is a really good time to highlight too, guys. Our partnership with Minoan is really set up for everybody to be successful and for you guys to be able to be Minoan members and get off to a really great kickstart. So we have that furnishing checklist that we're talking about in the show notes. And we also have a link where if you sign up via the link, you're going to get $25 off of your first order. Just to give you like another head start, right? Whether you want to start small and you're like, I'm going to replace my towels and my sheets. That's one of my goals for my properties because we went kind of mid-grade with the towels and the sheets because we grew really fast. And I was like, we got to keep the budget in check. And now what I'm discovering is that we're replacing most of the towels and sheets because mid-grade towels and sheets last for a while, but not for long enough for me, right? So this time we're being more intentional. I'm going through Minoan, using their order process, which is fantastic. So, um, yeah, I think check out those show notes. Anything you want to add to that, Jen?
No, I would say, we have a great support team and we have a great growth team, and they're always willing to help. So if you are like, hey, I don't even know where to get started here, like I have the checklist, but I need more help, reach out to us. We're always willing to help. You can reach out to me, Jen at
I love that.
minoanexperience.com. I'm happy to give you my advice as a host and tell you what I think you should buy based on your location. It really is, I feel like you can feel very lonely in this journey of being a host and being an investor. It's a lot of work. And so I think we should kind of come together as a community and all help each other as much as possible.
Okay, so Jen, tell us exactly how Minoan helps with the furnishing process and simplifies it because I want to dive into like how we can design and furnish a beautiful, a durable midterm rental without breaking the bank. And tell us like exactly how Minoan works because I know I've used it personally. Like I said, helping furnishing and just refreshing a lot of my units. But it's a little bit of a different process.
Yeah, it's not your traditional retail experience. So the way it works is Minoan is a platform. You log in, you can see a bunch of great products right on our homepage as soon as you're approved, your account is approved. And you can start shopping right away. And we actually have these really nice curations. So we have one like kind of a bed in the box curation. We have some outdoor picks, seasonal stuff. And then we actually have a new thing launching next week called Deals of the Week. So these will be Minoan exclusive flash sales with various brand partners. But typically, because a lot of hosts want that assortment, they just want to go out and kind of shop and explore on their own. You download our Chrome extension, and then you can go to any of our brand partners' websites. So Crate and Barrel, Article, and you're basically pulling the item back into your Minoan cart, and that's how you get the discount. So you want to check out through Minoan. You don't want to check out through the brand partner, otherwise you'll forego that discount. It's super easy once you get the hang of it. And the cool thing is we are set up like a B2B platform. So unlike traditional retail, where you're kind of like juggling multiple carts and you're trying to figure out where all your stuff is, it's all in one place. And that's really great at tax time for starters. So you can keep track of all the things, all of your expenses. But it's also great when you think about like having to restock or refresh anything. So if your sofa is damaged or you need new linens, you can easily find all of your orders within your Minoan account. Yeah, it's super intuitive once you get the hang of it, and then really like I again in 2022 didn't know about Minoan. We were a fairly new company back then. I started with them in 2024, But had I had Minoan when I was setting up my midterm rental, I would have saved a lot of money, but I also would have saved a lot of time. I When I first started, I showed my colleagues the scratch checklist for my furniture that I was using, which was really, not polished and not professional whatsoever. So we kind of help every host, no matter where you are at in your investing journey, whether you have one property, you have 20 properties, really feel like they're running a business as opposed to a side gig.
Hey landlords, are you ready to level up your rental game and simplify your midterm rental business? Well, get ready to meet your new best friend, KeyCheck. KeyCheck is your all-in-one solution for stress-free property management. With tenant-paid screenings, online rent payment processing, custom lease creation, and a suite of incredible landlord tools, you'll wonder how you ever lived without it. No more chasing down checks or sifting through piles of applications. KeyCheck helps you organize and manage all things landlording in a simple and efficient way. Make landlord life a breeze with KeyCheck, the game changer for modern property owners. Visit keycheck.com to unlock the power of stress-free property management and take your rental business to new heights.
Yeah, that's a great point. And I think as a Minoan representative and a Furnish Finder host yourself, I would love to hear what you recommend as far as the balance between the furnishing costs of setting up your rental and the value of the revenue based off of choosing quality furnishings. What do you hear as some of those, setbacks of why people don't want to use quality things that you guys at Minoan can encourage our Furnish Finder hosts on why it's so important to especially with those high touch items to have quality furnishings.
Yeah, I feel like that's very much a you live and you learn sort of thing. Like people can tell you all the time, invest in the good stuff because not only is it going to photograph better and you're probably going to get more interest right, at the top of the funnel, right when you're marketing your property. People are going to say, "Wow, that's a really nice bed. That's a really nice sofa. That's a really nice dresser." But when you think about just your sanity, so when you have people coming in and you want to keep this as hands off as possible, I think that's every landlord's dream is not having to go to the property every couple of days and fix things. It'll be so much easier if you just invest in the quality things now so that you don't have to fix or replace them in the near term. um, I have tons of stories of personally of people who have stayed at my property and they complained about the sheets or the linens. When you think about how that affects you, not only just who wants that, you want people to have a nice time and you want people to have a nice stay, whether they're staying for a few nights or a few months. But also, if you're hosting on a place where there's opportunity for reviews, you don't want those negative reviews because that will cost you money. So I really recommend, spend a little bit more money. And with Minoan, it's really not that much more money on things like your mattresses, your bedding, your sofa, the desk and workspace that you're setting up, the cookware and appliances, and then anything that helps people do laundry, I found is really important. And really you're saving yourself time and money in the future. It really is like an unlock to just set it and forget
Yeah.
it.
And you get to save the time and money now too, right? Because and this is something I don't think I ever realized how substantial the discounts on Minoan are. You guys have up like 50% is not an uncommon discount with Minoan. Like there are substantial discounts that you can get and just using that Chrome extension, how you get to just add it to your cart and then see it all like it's really nice to be able to see it all and it just gives you the chance to like get that leg ahead. Like you can advertise the fact that you have a more premium bed or more premium supplies in the kitchen without actually coming out of pocket that much more.
Right. Yeah. And for midterm tenants too, like being able to supply them with some really nice soap and shampoo and being able to put like we have a partnership with Koala Eco. They're a sustainable, eco-friendly cleaning brand. I have Koala Eco at my midterm rental and the guests, tenants, they love it. Because they're the ones cleaning, they're not on vacation. They have to clean. So like you should supply some cleaning stuff, even just the starter pack. And it's funny because this is definitely where showroom comes into play is they were like, where did you get all this stuff? Like, this is so cool. I love the shampoo in the bathroom and I love the cleaning spray that you guys have in the kitchen. And I'm like, oh, you can just scan that little QR code and buy it yourself. So investing in that
Right.
quality, just like, and now, I get a lot of word of mouth people, especially the locals that stay when they're in between homes. If you keep it nice, like they will refer your house to everybody. I've had two
Yep.
times now, my midterm guests, and one of them actually asked to come back. So it's just been, again, I can't speak to enough the headaches that I dealt with when I tried to cut corners versus, just having it feel very passive at this point.
Yeah, I love how you talked about the starter kit too, because we talk about that about how with a monthly rental you don't need to provide, toilet paper, paper towels, soap, shampoo, all of that for their whole stay. They're not expecting that at all, but they are expecting to be able to stay at their new property for a couple days, maybe a week, without having to just rush to the store and grab soap and paper towels, right? So giving that starter supplies or that starter kit and having some more high quality items when you get them at this discount, and it allows you to get them and really position yourself as, a very hospitable landlord and being really thoughtful and high quality, like that really carries through and sets you apart right from the beginning.
I 100% agree. And I think also, like, it's the little things like that where you're just setting this relationship. And with a midterm tenant, it is very much like a relationship because they're going to be staying for a while. You're setting it up on the right foot. You're just giving them like a very, and from their standpoint too, like they've probably they're either there for work or they're in between homes, they're trapped, they're busy. So having those things available to them so that they don't have to run to the store, like you said, but also
Yep.
giving them the quality items that are like special. And then, they might overlook, oh, this faucet's dripping, or, oh, this power strip isn't working. I find that when you like have the nice things for them, they're less likely to complain about the really little things.
Yeah, I think it's being selective and intentional with where you invest your money. Jen, let's talk about if someone is to do a brand new furnished rental and they are like, okay, I'm on a tight budget. Maybe it's a 1 or 2 bedroom. So they're looking at, $8 to $10 a square foot, maybe. They're hoping to keep it under $10,000, which for a short-term rental is probably really, really tight. For a midterm rental, it's pretty practical, really. Talk to us if you were to tell this landlord, okay, if there are 5 items that I want you to really invest in, what are those 5 items?
I've said it before, and I'll again say the mattress,
Yeah.
100% the mattress, and I think that people think I wouldn't invest in the same mattress that I have at my home. Not true. I actually bought a better mattress for my short-term rental or my midterm rental because it was actually less expensive than the entry level one. So it's a Lisa, and through Minoan, I spent $800, and I believe it's like a $2,800 mattress.
Yeah,
I
it's
have like
amazing.
the $1,800 version at home, but I was like, why wouldn't I just upgrade it, to the nicer version? And then,
Right.
the everyday, like less expensive mattress for a king size on Amazon is probably around like 600 anyway. So I think, and the compliments that I get and the happiness that that provides the tenants is unmatched. So 100% the mattress, the bedding. Again, I had cheaper sheets. I had a midterm tenant who actually turned into a long-term tenant and they stayed there for like 6 months. When they left, I had the old like Airbnb sheets that I was using off of Amazon. There were holes actually in them because they're using them a lot and they're running them for the washer, right? And there were holes in them. So I upgraded to Parachute Hospitality and I haven't had to replace them since, which is amazing. Again, not something I thought that I would never like. That's Parachute. That's so nice. But with Minoan, it's very much accessible. The
Yep.
sofa, I went really cheap on my sofa initially, and even my mom, she went to the property and she was like, "This is horrible. I can't believe that you let people sit on this." But the short-term guests, they don't care, they're sitting
Yeah,
on the sofa for, like, maybe playing games in the living room for a little bit, but I sit on my sofa every night, and I imagine my
right.
midterm tenants do as well. So especially, like, deeper seats, a sectional if space allows so that multiple people can kinda hang out. And one that isn't gonna sag. Cheaper sofas do tend to sag, and if people are sitting on them a lot, you want something that's gonna hold up and something that's easy to clean. We actually have a lot of content on our blog specifically around, like, contract grade furniture, stuff that's easier to clean. That's a great resource for that. Um, let me think of what else. The workspace, again, invest in a nice office chair. That's something I didn't mention before. I mentioned, like, the little things on the desk, but really a good office chair because this person's not just like squeezing in a few hours a day. They're probably sitting there the same 8 hours that they sit at home if they're a remote worker. So having a comfortable chair for them. And we have a partnership with Wayfair. They have like a million and one office chairs that you can look through I have one myself and it's really nice.
I have a fun question. Um, so when you look at Furnish Finder listings and the photos are what stand out and make someone stop their scroll, right? And so we're talking about furnishing. I'd love to tie it into how we need to add that, like where to accent certain things with your furnishings to make the photos pop. And then also just a reminder that 30% travel with pets. And we've talked about this quite a bit lately, but in a short-term rental, you can leave your fur baby behind. In a midterm rental, it's months at a time that you don't want to leave your pets at home. So, does Minoan have specific like outdoor furniture or indoor furniture that would be recommended for those that are pet friendly, or is that just the same quality all around?
I would say, we're always encouraging people to invest in durable things, pets or no pets. So a lot of the stuff that, you can find through our brand partners is going to be hospitality and contract grade. It's going to hold up, or it's just going to be like better quality stuff that tends to hold up better. But yeah, no, that's a great point because there have been times where when I had less expensive furnishings, I was worried about like large dogs staying in the property, especially on the sofa, and like really, kind of diminishing the quality or the aesthetic, I should say.
I've actually switched to all leather for that reason, so that my cleaners don't have to spend that extra time to really work at the hairs on the couch. So we've over our 4+ years of hosting on Furnish Finder, the opportunity arises and we add a new property, I typically choose some sort of leather couch and then ask the guest to put a blanket on top or something like that if they have pets that like to be up there with them. But the outdoor feature is, I think, something that oftentimes gets missed on Furnish Finder images is like they'll have this beautiful backyard that but then maybe like a it's not really set up in a way that someone says, "Ah, that looks so inviting. I could totally see myself hanging out in an evening there." How do you recommend making the outdoor space just as homey as the indoor space?
Yeah, sure. So we actually, because I find that too, like sometimes people are just completely lacking in the outdoor space. And in a climate like Florida, people want to spend time outside. So we actually we got it from Wayfair. It's like through Minoan, of course, a big sectional for the outside, which is nice because it's washable. So I can take the covers off, I can wash it. We get a ton of rain. They get gross, but I can take the covers off, I can wash them. People can rearrange them as they need them. But it is important to have a nice, comfortable seating area, a nice coffee table in front of them, and usually a rug. And I recommend doing something that won't stain, so something darker, because even if it is washable, realistically, you're not going to be at that property every couple months washing the rug. That's kind of a big burden. So any colors that won't show so much dirt and debris, especially outside. I went with a dark wicker sofa for that very reason, and I went with navy blue cushions because I didn't want to deal with like every little spot showing. And then, like you said, like you have the photos taken and it might look really nice too, but then when people get there, you don't want them to be like, "Oh, this is not what I expected it to be. I thought it was gonna be newer and fresher," but you don't take new photos every year. So as much as you can, try to keep it looking as new as possible is super important.
Yeah, and I think it's important for everybody to remember that you don't have to do this all at once. Right. You can get started with your midterm rental if you're coming from scratch. It can be very overwhelming. So lean on Furnished Finder, lean on Minoan, lean on this furnishing list that's going to be in the show notes here. Um, and then just get the basics and then you can keep upgrading, right? Even if you add one new piece of exciting furniture or new highlight every tenant flip you have, right? The average stay on Furnished Finder is about 3 months. So let's say every 3 months you go in and you're like, you know what? I'm going to add that workspace now. Okay, now I'm going to take the time and I'm going to upgrade these kitchen supplies. Okay, now I'm going to work on the outdoor space. It's better to chip away at it in bite-sized pieces if that's what you need to do, or if you're saying, okay, I hear you. I know I need to upgrade. You know, my stuff's looking a little worn, it's looking a little dated, but I don't have the budget for all of this all at once. That's where this is really handy because it's your own little shopping experience that you can do at any time. And you guys are adding new partners all the time. Like I get your announcements and it just feels like it's this resource that can be there to help with the furnishing because keeping it furnished, or I'm sorry, getting it furnished can be challenging. Keeping it nice and updated and fresh is a whole nother thing. So I think it's a big relief to know that, that our landlords can know that they have Minoan on their side and just have this like resource that is always keeping up to date with things we should be paying attention to on that front.
Yeah, and I would say also, like, do not feel overwhelmed. Do not feel like it has to be show home ready, at first listing. When you log into Minoan, you're gonna see a lot of cool stuff. But, you don't have to buy everything at once. As long as you have some furniture, I would say as long as it's clean and comfortable and quiet, really you're ahead of the game from a lot of people. A lot of
Yeah.
people just, they throw whatever in there, and I think as long as it feels clean and homey, you're going to succeed. And then yeah, just make the upgrades over time. I didn't even talk about decor because again, like setting it up can feel very overwhelming, and who wants to like worry about hanging pictures on top of everything else? It's just another investment. But that is something like down the road, slowly start to hang some pictures and just make it feel a little bit more special.
Well, we are approaching our time with this episode. We want to leave you guys wanting more. As stated, we don't want you to feel overwhelmed. Remember, all three of us are active midterm rental operators. Feel free to put any comments or questions in on YouTube or Spotify. Like, feel free to reach out to us. We're here to help. Our customer service team at Furnish Finder at Minoan, always here to answer questions. So don't feel overwhelmed. You're in this. We're in this with you. You've got a whole community, and just get started. That's where a lot of people fail, is they say it's not perfect yet, I can't add my property. That's not the case, and that's a perfect segue to, once your property is live, you've been through all your checklists to make sure that your midterm rental ready. Guess what? Things still come up. So pro tips would be, if someone asks for an item and it's reasonable, or you hear the same item multiple times, you should probably add that item to your rental. That only helps you, less communication, less need for people going to the property or to restock items. So, Jen, I'd love to wrap up with the conversation. For my last question is just like items that are often missing from the home that are important to have. And some of those that we've heard on our Facebook group of over 140,000 travelers and hosts that can communicate together there, vacuums and like cleaning supplies. You want your property to stay in great condition, right? So make sure you have cleaning supplies. Same idea, a working can opener, full length mirror, knives that are sharp and actually cut. Like, what have you found from your experience, Jen, are items that maybe you were asked for or that you have improved your listing over time with?
It's funny you asked that because I had my midterm tenant recently be like, "How do you not have an iron?" And I was like, no one's ever asked me for one, and I never ironed myself, but, you put yourself in your guest shoes. She, is a professional, so she often wears nice shirts, and she wants to look very polished, and she needed an iron. So I sent one right away. I went to Minoan, searched iron, found the right one. We actually have a really cool, like, it's almost like a hair straightener iron that's really easy to use. That's one thing that's really important. Things that allow guests to self-serve, because when they're staying in a midterm rental, they're doing everything themselves. They're ironing on their own. The vacuum, broom, and mop, just like you said. The cleaning supplies, but sometimes more elevated cleaning supplies. Um, Extra sheets and towels. I think a lot of short-term hosts, when they're, or even just newbies, they think like, "Oh, well, I only need like one set because then my cleaners will just wash them." But in a midterm stay, they're washing them themselves. And how often do you forget to put your sheets in the dryer after you put them in the washer in the morning, and then 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock rolls around, you're like, "Shoot, I don't have dry sheets." Well, that's why you need spares,
Yep.
especially in a midterm rental. Um, all those kitchen supplies you mentioned, and not cheap knives, but nice knives that people can cut a real steak with if they're making steak at home, coffee gear that actually works. And then, I even give storage containers for leftovers, because people cook and I want them to be able to like store their food just like they would at home. And then blackout curtains. That's one more
Yes.
thing. Like, if you're staying for a long time, you're not going to be okay with like every morning the light streaming in, especially if you're on a specific schedule for work or what have you. So blackout curtains are really, really important in my opinion.
You know what's one that I have really put effort into for all of our properties too, especially if it's a really high ceiling? Can you imagine if the smoke alarm's going off in the middle of the night and you have no way to reach it? So I make sure that there's a step stool at all of our properties, and if it's like 10-foot ceilings, I'll even put a ladder in there so that they can reach it and have a good night's sleep, because we don't want to have to go in the middle of the night to make these changes and they don't want to lose sleep. So, yes, if there's anything that you have noticed in your midterm stays that people are asking for, we want to hear from you in the show notes, or in the comments, so that we can all work together to make sure our homes are stocked and ready for our guests. Katie, how would you like to wrap up this episode?
Yeah, I just want to encourage everybody, if you have a property and you are brand new and you haven't furnished it yet, download the checklist. It's in the show notes. We'll have it on the Furnished Finder blog. We're going to make it really accessible for everybody. If you're coming over from short term or you're considering offering midterm rental stays in your short term, go through that checklist too and just see, okay, what's different here. The checklist is probably going to be a lot shorter than you're used to, but look on those things and pay attention to those high touch items, right? How are your high touch items? Are there things that someone's going to want to live with for 90 days? And if you already have a furnished monthly rental, you already have a midterm, I would encourage you to, stay on top of your furnishings, replace things before they're broken, and think about what you're going to replace them with. This partnership we have with Minoan is really cool, and this is a really cool company, and you guys are doing awesome stuff to make sure that like these discounts are really significant, and getting landlord and hosts access to those is it's really meaningful for our businesses, right? Like it makes a difference on our bottom line. So I would just encourage everybody to really check that out. The link is in the show notes, you guys, and you can get $25 off of your first order. So like that's, you use some of these discounts and you got a set of these linens that's half off, and then we're going to take another half off or so, right? Like that's going to give you a great head start. And it just serves back with our mission that, at Minoan and at Furnished Find, we're really trying to help support your business, right? We know this can be overwhelming and we don't want it to be that way. We're going to make it so that you can get everything you need to be successful. So I think it's so great hearing your personal story, Jen, having the short-term rental that you use as a midterm rental from time to time. And everything is always, more meaningful when we can speak from experience ourselves. So I can't wait for everybody to start exploring within Minoan. I know I went into my account the other day and I was just poking around for like an hour. It's like so easy to just get lost in shopping land. So yeah, I think that's it for today. I'm really excited what we can do together in the future.
Well, thanks for being here, Jen. And I just want to leave us with this thought. Our top 10% of landlords earn 30,000 a year in rental income. So if you're not in the midterm rental game and you are thinking, should I furnish my property? I don't know if midterm rental's a good fit in my market. Just get out there, get started. It's not hard. Go to the stats page, furnishfinder.com/stats. Check out any area in the U.S. We're in all 50 states, and jump into the game. We're ready for you. Thanks for being here. Don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, share this episode with a friend, and follow Minoan's social channels as well. Have a great day, everyone. We'll catch you next time. Bye.